Good evening and welcome to the Gold, Goats, and Guns Hour here on YouTube and Periscope. My name is Tom Luongo. It is Friday, April 24th, 2018. All right, a couple of things I want to talk about tonight. And it's, I've been hitting on a theme all week of guys like George Soros and now Elon Musk. And in the past, we've talked about Mark Zuckerberg. And I've never really talked about Elizabeth Holmes over at Theranos, even though that whole thing is a literal dumpster fire. But I think it's time that we finally dispense with the idea that that these people are geniuses, right? We had to be regaled for years that because Elizabeth Holmes was a woman, she was a genius. And she wore a black turtleneck sweater, she was a genius. She was the next Steve Jobs. I guess be Stefan or Stephanie Jobs. She wasn't. She was an idiot. And she was a fraud. And she's going to go to jail. And so is Mark Zuckerberg eventually, because he's going to get overthrown. He's going to get thrown over by these Wall Street vultures and scumbags who have been using him to erect, like George Soros has been using him to erect this censorship panopticon. Oh yeah, then we can talk about Marissa Mayer too. The DevPav brings up Marissa Mayer. She's an idiot. I mean, she started at Google. Everybody hated her at Google. And then all of a sudden, Yahoo. I think Yahoo hired Marissa Mayer to actively destroy shareholder value because the company was actually worth less than the sum of its parts as a internet media company. It's, for when she took over, the company was actually valued at less than its position that it owns in Japanese SoftBank, right? Because at the time, Yahoo owned this massive position in SoftBank. And yeah, I think, honestly, Marissa Mayer was brought in to destroy value even further so that it would hasten the sale of SoftBank and everybody could get out. Do they own Tumblr? Oh, by the way, the new Restream web chat client sucks. It used to just be a nice, simple one-line thing with. Now I've got a name and a date stamp, and I'm only going to be able to see like 5 comments before they all scroll off the screen. I'm not happy about this at all. But it just started tonight, so we'll see if we'll see how this works out. So then we have Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk is a smart guy. He's not the smartest guy in the room. He's not smarter than me. And just because I'm a smart guy doesn't mean I should be running a car company. As a matter of fact, because I know myself well enough, I know I shouldn't be running a car company. So why the does Elon Musk think he should be running a car company? So, the thing about Musk is that he may be a smart guy, but all these people on the left, all these people that have been were championing all of these lefty geniuses, or at least champions of the left as geniuses, and none of them are. Zuckerberg is just a creepy guy who couldn't get a date and wanted to vacuum everybody's data up first before he ever figured out how to get enough courage to ask a girl on a date because he's too much of a fucking tool. George Soros is just evil. He bankrolls all these guys to go run around and erect control systems for him. I honestly believe I haven't even gotten started on how much I actually despise Tesla. And I don't despise Tesla because of Tesla. I think I despise Tesla for all the other things that go along with Tesla. If Tesla just existed in a vacuum, Tesla would be Fisker, right? You guys have heard of the Fisker karma, right? I mean, and it's really sad, honestly. So, but Musk he's a smart guy. He's an entrepreneur nominally, but he's got the wrong temperament to actually be CEO of a car company. And it shows. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I said it this afternoon on my other video. The skills needed to go and get the investor capital to sell the vision of Tesla, to build a prototype and build a boutique car, one thing. That's a whole different set of skills than running a production line in the most competitive mass production market in the world. Cars. Do you guys have any idea what it's like, how hard it is to be a tier 1 OEM for car companies? I mean, it's insane. And Musk thought he was going to rebuild everything from the ground up, that it wasn't enough to build the first electric sports car, that it wasn't then enough to bring the first, beautiful electric Cove to the market. No. We had to remake all of automotive manufacturing from scratch because, fucking Henry Ford and Toyota couldn't figure that shit out. Toyota TRS, if you guys don't know anything about the Toyota, the TPS, the Toyota production system, if you don't know how revolutionary it was, how important it is in the history of production, you're missing out. It's one of the great stories of all times. Do you realize that that Ford and GM today would be out of business if it wasn't for Toyota out competing the crap out of them? Because Toyota made all of their OEMs better by definition, and it made all of Ford and GM's cars better. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not giving up my internal combustion engine. They can pry my internal combustion engine from my cold, dead hands. I'm never buying an electric car until they tell me that I'm not allowed to buy one anymore. Because, yeah, I agree, RB Tools. All good engines should roar. And if I remember correctly, you're Australian. You people love your muscle cars. I mean, you people make freaking muscle El Caminos, for fuck's sake. That's awesome. Okay? That's just freaking awesome. The freaking Maloo? What a car. I want one. Yes, I've watched a lot of Top Gear. Right. There's all sorts of... I mean, I don't even mind electric cars, right? But I don't even mind electric motors. I get the whole reason for it, but there's absolutely zero reason why we should be running around with battery packs. And you know why they want us to have battery packs? This is why I fundamentally despise Tesla. I was thinking about this afternoon. I was talking to my friend. He said, there's a reason why they want us in electric cars. And then on top of that, they want us to be in self-driving cars. Because self-driving cars are ones that can be shut down remotely. They can just drive to the nearest police station and, friend citizen, please, you said the wrong thing on Twitter. Please come with us. We're going to remand your ass to Guantanamo, or we're going to take you behind the chemical shed and shoot you. No, the reason they want us on all electric cars, why the Obama administration and Soros and the rest of them were all over puffing up the myth of Elon Musk, the brilliant entrepreneur, and giving out hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, of taxpayer money, is because electricity generation is centralized. Do you know how hard it is to become a new electricity generator in this country? In most of the world? Governments control electricity generation at a fundamental level. Even private companies, like we have, FP&L down here, they may be nominally private companies, but all the regulations about bringing electricity to your home, like you can't get an occupancy license. You can't get electricity dropped to your house without going through a government inspection. Okay, you can't the hurdles at this point to a decentralized electrical grid with small point source systems. Like, I mean, I've done research into this stuff. There's beautiful like systems that are out there, like little modular systems that can run on natural gas. They're PEM fuel cells. They can run an entire neighborhood for, with a point source thing that looks that's total size is no bigger than an outhouse or somebody's shed, right? Localized. Imagine one of those in every friggin' small burbclave or small new 150 home burbclave going in on the outskirts of whatever city you live in. We got them all. They're propping up all over the outskirts of Gainesville. Every one of those should have a 150 kilowatt natural gas powered PEM fuel cell running all those houses. They don't need to be on the centralized grid. They don't need to be running off of Deer Haven and the Gainesville station downtown and the rest of them. We don't need to be belching smoke into the freaking air. These things can be running on natural gas and emitting water and CO2, water and hydrogen, for Christ's sake, and water, for Christ's sake. But it's unbelievable. We're not talking about natural gas fired plants. We're talking about natural gas powered PEM fuel cell plants. Okay, these things are there and they should be there, but there's no way anybody will ever give up the control of the electrical grid because ultimately they can control who you are by shutting off your electricity. So of course, they don't want us in cars. They don't want the cars are freedom. Guns are freedom. The ability to move freely about the world as far as we want. No. We need to be able to go 150 miles and stop and recharge for 6 hours, and 150 miles and stop and charge for 6 hours. Opposed to gasoline, relative to electricity generation, gasoline distribution is decentralized. That's why they want to get rid of the internal combustion engine. And they're using the myth of global warming to do it. That's what this is about. So that's why I'm like, fuck Elon Musk. Especially when hybrid electric systems are better anyway. Why don't we have little diesel power plants in the back of the friggin' cars driving 4 electric motors? This is not rocket science. As a matter of fact, it's like 19th century science. And some battery backup. You can integrate, 12 watts worth of solar power on the roof if you want. I don't give a shit, whatever. To, run the radio antenna. Not that anybody listens to the radio anymore. To run a couple of LED lights on the dashboard or whatever. Fine, great, whatever. Who cares? I'll save 0.1 miles per gallon of diesel. Shit. Stupid. The whole thing is all about control. Always been about control. It's about holding on to as much centralization as possible. No, there's no real science to back up a claim that electric cars are better for the environment because any and all of it is based on the emission of too much CO2. Why do you think they destroyed Volkswagen over Dieselgate? Aside from the fact that American car companies wanted to put small diesels on the market, but they couldn't put them on the market. They couldn't put them. I'm going to change my glasses because I can't read your comments with these. So much better. So they wanted Volkswagen destroyed because Volkswagen was already had too much of the diesel market share. And they also wanted diesel destroyed as a viable alternative to electric cars and hybrid cars because they wanted us out of those markets. They wanted us out of those cars, out of those products. That's why the Obama administration CAFE standards, we're going to ramp up to like 53 miles to the gallon. I got news for you. That's the end of the internal combustion engine. There's no internal combustion engine that can move around four adults in this world and get 53 miles to the gallon on a regular basis and still pass all the other safety regulations and everything else. No. You got to go to electric cars. Well, they do that anyway, WMD. So WMD says, they use Uber so they know where you are and have a history of where you went, and then put Progressive's tracker in the car so they know exactly where you went and how you drove. Yeah, I mean, I got news for you. Allstate does the same thing as Progressive. They all do the same thing. And there's black boxes on the cars anyway. You do realize that there's telemetry data, and your car has been spying on you to the government and the car companies for years for warranty purposes. And it comes out in the end, if you try to sue the car company for something faulty, if the telemetry data doesn't back you up, you get fucked. You're done. There's already a black box in your car that you can't get around. Been there for a ton of model years now. I don't remember when it started, but it was a while ago. At least a decade. So, surveillance is the new normal. Not for normal Americans, not for American adults for sure. What about the Chinese state-owned SAIC making counterfeit automobiles? Whatever. That's what the Chinese do. Chinese make knockoffs. And Top Gear did a whole thing on Chinese knockoffs of like Rolls Royces. Okay? They make like fake Rolls over in China. Whatever. They're not going to be selling them here. Raytheon spies through Sync. The government spies through OnStar. Chrysler has their system. I refuse to sign up for it in my Jeep. Not happening. Whatever. You can rip all that shit out if you need to, but you can't. You're not allowed. They just put all this shit in your cars because they want to know everything about you. Because they need to know everything. Because these people have to know everything. It's about control, and those systems are going to fail. The best part about watching George Soros complain and whine and weep and wail about everything is that he's losing. He's losing. He's losing in Eastern Europe. He's already lost in Russia. He's going to lose here in the United States. Why do you think they're pushing so hard for impeachment of Trump in the next 3 to 6 months? Because they already know that we see the code behind the matrix. I was saying this morning on Fault Lines, which was fun. I got IM'd from Eric, the producer over there last night. He said, "You want to be on the show at 9:20?" I'm like, "Oh, sure, that's fine. Sounds great." I'm sitting there waiting to get on this morning, and Lee already preps. Hey, maybe we can get Tom to stay on for 40 minutes. I'm like, thinking to myself, he's like, "Tom, can you stay on for an extra 20 minutes?" I'm like, thinking to myself, well, yeah. I've already milked my goat. What else have I got to do? Cynical Skeptic reminds us that DARPA released info that they can take control over the smart car by infecting the diagnostic machines in the repair shops. Corbett made a very good video about it. It doesn't surprise me at all. So, they sell them here. It would be just easier if SAIC would just bring the cars over, but, whatever. All sorts of stuff going on, guys. Okay. Do I make goat cheese? Yes. I make a chev, make a soft chev, and I make various hard cheeses. Not very well. I mean, reasonably well, but I can't say I make a cheddar, I make a Gouda, I make a Swiss, I make a font. No. I make some cheese, and it usually comes out, and it's usually edible. So yeah, we are living in a Pinky in the Brain episode. Sure. What are we going to do tonight, Brain? I don't know. Lindsay? Why don't you fuck me in the ass? Okay, sorry. So speaking of good news, John McCain's going to die. What is Lindsey Graham going to do? I mean, no wonder Lindsay's been in such a foul mood the last 6 months. His butt buddy's gone. I've made fed it a couple of times. I'm not particularly good at it. I haven't ever gotten it dry enough to then have it come out properly in the brine. Do you remember RB Tools is saying that you give credence to the Michael Hastings conspiracy theory? Imagine hacking into your car mid-travel, hell of a weapon. No. How do you think they killed Vladimir Putin's driver 2 years ago? I saw and I can't confirm this anymore because I can't find the video, but I saw a video of that car where the right front tire, puff of smoke, car turned because the brakes engaged and the car turned to the right. Car turns to the left. It's an overhead shot that has been expunged from the internet. All you get are if you look up that one, you'll see what I'm talking about. All you can find is the kind of road level shot. You can't find the overhead shot. There wasn't like a relatively overhead shot or one from the side, and that one's been expunged from the internet. I guess from one of the highway surveillance cameras. That one's been expunged and pushed down the memory hole. And completely convinced that the car was taken over, the wheel jerked to the right, and that guy slammed headfirst into traffic. And Putin was supposed to be in the car, and he wasn't. They killed his driver. So yeah, they can hack your car. I mean, Jeep's already been through this. Their firmware's been hacked so many times that I know I've had at least 2 or 3 firmware updates on my Cherokee the last 3 years. Oh yeah, no, recall after recall after recall, mostly firmware updates to stop the hacking. I wouldn't doubt it, reconciliation. It's not like Chevy's any good at making freaking cars. Chevy's cars are terrible. I don't know why anybody buys them. Sorry. Not that I would ever buy a GM anyway after what they pulled with the bondholders in 2008. It's fucking Obama motors. I wouldn't buy that. I wouldn't buy anything. I'd buy Ford. I'd buy a Ford. Not that I would buy a Ford right now, but I would buy a Ford. Why? They didn't take a bailout in 2008. They're actually just trying to compete on their own merits. Not doing a very good job of it, but at least they're trying. I almost bought an Escape. The turbo lag on the 2-liter turbo was a little too much for me. You're doing the drive-by-wire and the turbo lag, it just wasn't. Car wasn't snappy enough. I went with the V6 Cherokee instead, which if you drive it in semi-manual mode, it's not too bad. If it had flappy paddle gearbox, it would be better, but whatever. I mean, I love my cars, but like I said, pry my internal combustion engine from my cold, dead hands. Neither of those cars could hold a candle anywhere close to my Kia Optima. I had a Kia Optima Turbo. Holy shit, was that a good car. So, I mean, I like the Escape. I just didn't like it for the price, and I didn't like the turbo lag that I got. And it was odd. It was car to car. I drove 2 or 3, and one was good, and the other 2 weren't. And I'm like, sorry, can't do it. Yeah, I mean, 0% financing is always a great way to get a car. I mean, right? They're just telling you that the car isn't the car's actually not worth what they say it's worth. I mean, and none of those cars can hold a candle to my wife's friggin' Xterra, which is just a retardedly great car. It's a real shame that Nissan never put the money into go after more of the Jeep market. But that's the thing with all of Nissan's trucks. Americans don't like them, which is great if you want a used truck in America. Here's a pro tip for you. Ready? If you need a used truck and you don't want to spend a lot, you want to get more for your money than anywhere else, the best truck to buy is a Nissan. Either a Frontier or a Titan, especially if you want a full-size truck. Titan, if you go look on Auto Trader and you go look for trucks, you'll find like 4 or 5-year-old Titans selling for $8,000 to $10,000 less than a comparable Ford F-150 Silverado. They all get the same fucking gas mileage. So it's not that. It's the fact that they don't sell. They're not well appointed, and Americans don't like Nissan trucks. Value. See, we do even do consumer stuff here on Old Guts and Guns. I'm supposed to, actually. I don't know about the Stinger. No, that Stinger's not sold here. The Optima is the Optima and the Turbo Optima and the Turbo Hyundai Sonata. That 2.0 liter turbocharged engine that Hyundai makes. Fantastic engine. Unbelievable engine. Unbelievable engine. The problem with the Mustang is it's too heavy. The Mustang needs to go on a diet. It needs Ford had every opportunity to really, with the 2015 redesign, 2015 redesign on the Mustang, they needed to come in at 3,350 pounds or 3,300 pounds. 3,500 pounds on that car is too much. It's just too much. That the 2.3 liter turbocharged 4 is a great engine. I've driven the car. It's fantastic. It's just not good enough. Needs that little extra oomph. Nissans are like bulletproof, dude. Are you kidding? They only make like 3 engines. They make that the 4-liter 6 is bulletproof. The one I have in my Xterra that's in the Nissan Frontier, fantastic engine. It's a little rough sounding. It's not, it's not the most refined engine in the world. But it's got power and torque to spare. It's a beautiful V6. And that 5.6 liter V8 that's in the old Titans, also a good engine. Those trucks are fantastic. They're bulletproof. It's the same thing with the Toyotas. The people the people like Tacomas, but they won't buy a Tundra. The Americans have a thing about their full-size pickup trucks. They like their Fords and they like their Chevys. It's kind of like, Australians, and you're either a Ford guy or you're a GM guy, right? It's the same thing. And here in America, it's the same thing. The Ford F-150 keeps Ford alive. Ford's not stupid. They're getting rid of all of their friggin' sedans. They can't sell that shit. They're just going to subs and the Mustang and trucks. And more power to them. It's a smart thing to do. Yeah, that's all I ever hear about. I mean, I've never had any maintenance problems on a Nissan. And they're ridiculous. I use the 13. She has a friend, the Nissan, all he's ever had to do is oil and basic maintenance. Yeah. Seriously, that 4-liter V6 in a mid-size pickup truck with 260 horsepower, 285 pound-feet of torque, and can pull 7,000 pounds, 6,500 pounds. How much more do you need in a mid-size pickup truck? It'll pull a house. Great stuff. Great car. Yeah, the Mazdas with the new ignition system. No, they haven't come out yet. Now Mazda's got, for passenger cars, I really like Mazdas as well. I really like what they've done. The whole Sky Active thing is fantastic. If you look at the power and torque ratio curves on those Mazda 4s, and you'll see something you don't normally see in Japanese 4-bangers, which is they usually have a very high horsepower rating and a very low torque rating because they just wind the crap out of them. They're all high revving engines that don't generate a lot of torque, right? And so they feel slow. Toyota Corollas do this shit, and they've always been that way. And whatever 4 and then when they put the base engines in the like the Camry and like the RAV4 and whatnot, those engines generally have not enough torque. Now, it's one thing I like about Nissan. They always go for a lot of torque. If you look at the power and torque ratios on the Mazda Sky Active engines, it's all it's 185 horsepower. That's not all that much by, say, like a CX-5 or whatever. But it's got 190 pound-feet of torque available at 3,500 RPMs. And that's purely from how they're able to tune the engines because the friggin' tolerances are so tight. They're able to tune those engines in a particular way to get those tolerances. And that's really, really impressive. And so that's why those cars feel so much quicker than they actually are, because they have tremendous amount of torque available at low RPMs at passing RPMs. So you can put your foot on the gas and you'll pass. And that makes them both fuel efficient when you're just cruising, but then also give you the ability to, go fast when you need to radically alter your speed. And I firmly believe that an underpowered car is a traffic hazard. I believe in horsepower. I believe in having horsepower and torque. I want the ability to be able to get out of the way. You're on the highway and you've got somebody barreling up your ass at 100 miles an hour and you're doing 80 and you're stuck next to a truck. You need to be able to get from 80 to 90 past the truck so you don't get run over. This is reality on Florida highways. I don't know about you guys. So you just need to either be able to slow down radically, or be able to speed up. Both of those things are safety features for the intelligent driver. So sorry, but I mean, I'm not, RB tools, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to start talking about, hypercars and sports cars. Obviously, Ferraris that's different. That's art. I'm talking about consumer level cars, right? And the thing about Musk, bringing this thing back to the beginning, is that Musk was trying to take a boutique car and turn it into a production behemoth. And he was never the guy to bring that into play. And yes, electrics give you all the torque, which is why people who love Teslas because they get all the torque. Because you have access to all the torque right now when you need it. Because they don't have a torque curve. They just have torque. And that's one of the great things about electric engines. This is why I'm not against an electric-driven car. Because that's cool. Right? So, I mean, me personally, I would... User 13 says she'd love a Z. She'd go broke with the speeding tickets. Dude, for me, it would so be a V8 Mustang. I'd be all over a friggin' Tonka orange and black fucking V8 Mustang. All day, every day. The new Mustangs are gorgeous. They're like fat American Aston Martins. They look like Aston Martins that have been Americanized, so they've been fattened. I like them. They're awesome. Don't get me wrong. I like my Mercs too, but in a completely different way. So we've gotten far off field of what I wanted to talk about originally, but understand that all of this talk, when we talk about like the minor changes that happen, one of the things about the whole Tesla bear argument is like, by the way, the Model S is the same car that they were selling in 2005. When Jeremy Clarkson blew one up on the Top Gear test track. Got news for you. It's the same car today. They're not doing a minor refresh every year. How are they going to keep up with fickle consumer tastes that literally from one year to the next, if the cup holders are too small, you sell 10,000 fewer units? If you didn't listen to your customer complaints about the cup holders being too small in your consumer level CUV, you sell 10,000 fewer units. Okay? Reconciliation, I'm all over hydrogen cars. All over hydrogen fuel cells. Love them. No, it's not gonna, but yeah, RB Tools, Australia is a nightmare. Full stop. Politically, you guys are so much farther ahead on this stuff than we are. I'd have left already. I couldn't take it. I'm already. The United States is already bad enough that I want to move out into the middle of nowhere. I wouldn't be able to do my job though. That's the problem. So. One of the boosters. They are muscle cars. You are driving like this. Dude, if you think that's bad, go drive a Challenger. When I got the job at Newsmax back in 2013, I drove literally every car imaginable. I'm like, I haven't had any money for 2 years. I've been unemployed. Well, I got this job at Newsmax. It's going to pay me blah. It paid me very well. I'm like, I need a new car. I am not screwing around. I drove everything. I drove everything from a BMW 135i to a used Jeep Wrangler. Okay. And everything in between. I wound up settling on the Optima, but because it was just the best car for the money. It was so much car for that price. It was insane. But I drove a Dodge Challenger with the big V8 Hemi in it. That thing, I got in that car and I'm like, I wanted to grow sideburns and I wanted to start smoking in the car again. And I'm just waiting for Samuel L. Jackson to get in with the Jerry curls and start screaming at me, and start using the N-word like over and over and over again. I got in the car. I thought it was in a Tarantino movie. I'm like, And it had a kind of appeal to it. And by the way, that V8 Hemi, great engine. Try it in a short wheelbase Ram 1500. Yeah, you need the coil springs with that engine, though. Trust me. You'll be bunny hopping all the way down the road. Oh my God. The Challengers are really cool. They are. But seriously, if you just want a muscle truck, the best muscle truck on the market is the Ram 1500 with the Hemi. Just buy the low end one for like 20 grand or 21 grand or whatever. Get it with nothing in it. Get the end of a model year. Those guys, they'll make you a deal like you wouldn't believe, and then go out later and rip out the bench seat, put 2 captain chairs in it and some leather, and and a decent stereo system. Have fun. But dude, seriously, 400 horsepower and 4,000 and less than 4,000 pounds of truck. Buy. You're chirping the tires as you're with an automatic transmission going in the 3rd gear. It's retarded. The amount of torque that engine has. It's literally ridiculous. Hell of a lot of fun though. I almost bought one. That was seriously one of my bottom final 5 was I almost bought I almost bought a V6 Mustang. I know it's not the good one, but I almost bought a V6 Mustang. If I had gotten one with the fastback, could have found one with a manual transmission and the fastback back end, I would have bought that. And there was one in Tampa, and the guy up here in the local dealership, I had found it, and I told him, go get that one and reserve it for me in Tampa, and I'll buy the car this morning. He's like, I can't find it. Buy one off the lot. I'm like, well, fuck you. And I went up to Lake City, and I bought the Kia, and that was the end of that shit. Did I hear much about Stefan Molyneux and Laura Southern's Australia tour? No, I didn't really. I heard that they had some problem, that they ran into some issues and whatnot, but I don't really follow either of them very much because Laura Southern's cute, but it's kind of basic, and Stefan Molyneux he's lost his mind, and I'm very depressed by what he's become. Just being the libertarian in me is just really depressed that guy's no longer a libertarian. So. Oy. What else is going on? But it's fascinating that these guys are all going to lose their stuff. I've been saying for a long time now that Musk is going to wind up in jail. Okay, you do realize, and I need to bring this up, that you can't get out of the backseat of a Tesla in the event of an electrical failure unless you know that there's a pull cord underneath the carpet, underneath the back seat. There's no mechanical way to get out of the back seat of a Tesla, which is most likely why those 2 kids died in South Florida in the fire. Because the fire started, they couldn't get out of the car. How that got past NHTSA, I don't know. That's insane. I don't see Ford doing that. I don't see Ford even wanting to do that. But somehow Musk got around that, got away with that. Now, the only way you get away with something like that is if you are the poster child for the current political agenda. This is the kind of thing that it's really very much like third act Atlas Shrugged stuff. If you guys have ever read Atlas Shrugged, in the third act of Atlas Shrugged, the government finally tests its new weapon, and at the weapons test, it's like this new sonic weapon, and it's such a complete and miserable failure. It winds up killing nearly everybody there. And when the whole system, when the breakdown of the society really accelerates because the morons are in charge, and all the smart people have walked away, and the morons are in charge, and people are gassing themselves, and there's all sorts of crap is happening, and all this societal breakdown is happening, and stuff like what's going on with Tesla is exactly that kind of thing. And flaming Teslas leading to death of young kids is not good for stock value. Where the hell is Ralph Nader? He's still fighting with every muscle in his body because he's such a control freak. That's what's actually going on there. Which is an old joke of mine about Ralph Nader. No. The fact is that Musk gets away with this stuff because he's Elon Musk. And this is insane. And this needs to end before more people die. Okay? Because they're packing 22,000 of these little Panasonic flashlight batteries into the car, which is amazing that they were able to do the R&D to get this stuff done. And don't get me wrong, this is not about the people who work there or the engineers who figured all this shit out. This is about Elon Musk and his leadership, which is that he's insane. Okay? And so eventually this just has to end. And it's a real shame because, look, here's the gig. Tesla's making cars in frickin' tents. Okay? Toyota makes their cars in hermetically sealed frickin' production lines. Okay? You can eat off the floor at a production line at a Toyota plant. Okay? These guys are making them outdoors in frickin' tents. It's fraud. They can't compete in any version of reality. Tesla's not going to start selling a million, is not going to start selling 1 million cars a year. It's not going to happen. It's not about the infrastructure or anything else. The demand really isn't there. Without the subsidies and without all the virtue signaling, it's just not there. At the end of the day, someone's going to look at, tricking out their Model 3. They put their $1,000 deposit down in their $35,000 Model 3. You can't get a Model 3 for $35,000. By the time you actually make it functional, it's going to be 53, 54, 55. They're going to look at that and going to spend $55,000 on a Cov. I could spend $25,000 on a Jeep and then spend $20,000 on gas and still be $10,000 ahead. Make any goddamn sense. Is it me, or does Musk always seem to be tweeting and saying stuff that would indicate some kind of mental issue going on? He seems very eccentric. He is eccentric. He's under an inordinate amount of pressure. He's wasted billions, tens of billions of dollars on this, and he can't deliver. He took all these orders. It's fraud. He knew he couldn't take those orders, and it was fraud. And he took them anyway, and he booked the revenue. Understand, hey, I got something else. Flaming Teslas, not good for insurance rates on the cars. Okay? Flaming Teslas, not good for the company's warranty liabilities against future warranty liabilities against the present sale. Okay? They've booked all of the friggin' revenue for the it's insane. They're not even properly reporting their warranty liability. And I'm almost convinced of this, having looked at their balance sheet. Well, PayPal's not making cars. And yeah, they're evil, and they are an amazing company, but they're not making cars. It's a lot different. It's a lot easier. Cars are hard, man. I mean, Tesla would have been better off. I was talking to a friend of mine about this, and he said, look, man, I never expected them to actually get to the point of making cars. I always thought that it should just be a design house. Design all this beautiful technology and then license all of it, the software stack, all of this stuff. And then have somebody else who's competent make the cars. That would have been a business model that would have worked. But Musk can't handle that. Musk's ego is too big for that. It's just sad. And the same thing with George Soros. Flaming Apple iPhones, battery issues. Yeah. So, and cryptos will kill things like PayPal eventually. Of course they will. At least drive PayPal's margins down to zero. And it's just a real shame. All of this is a real shame because there's a lot to like about Tesla in conception. I mean, yeah, I've said this before. They look like a low-rent Maserati Quattroporte. Okay. I mean, if you're going to, like, ape a car, ape a beautiful car. The Italians know how to make beautiful cars. Every once in a while, they make a good one. That's not really their priority. Their priority is to make works of art. I know this. I'm Italian. I write good articles. I write a lot of articles. I like writing articles. I love writing articles. Every once in a while, I write a good one. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, we get to art. But the point is to make a beautiful article, even if it's not a particularly good one. Right? That's the thing. Italian, that's that mindset. Italian designers, they're not working from the same, it's a different culture. And they also ape a rare car, absolutely. And there is a one or two Maseratis here in Gainesville. I saw one on Wednesday on my way to work. I always look for it. It's a Ghibli. It's not a Quattroporte, but similar. And I saw it in the rearview mirror, and from the front end, if you don't know the difference between the badges, it could you could think it's a Tesla. Right, and so if you can't see the detail in the grill work and the hood work, so once you see the hood, you know it's not a Tesla because Tesla is basically the sheet metal, and the Ghibli's got it's got bridges to it. It's a beautiful car, and I saw it. I'm like driving in the middle of freaking Gainesville traffic with one eye on the rearview mirror and one eye on traffic, and this is 5 o'clock traffic in Gainesville. It's pretty rough over on Archer Road. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm just not missing the Ghibli as it drives by. I'm just not missing the Maserati. Fuck that. And yeah, I kind of paced him for a while. I kept doing this shit. Beautiful car. Every time I see a Tesla, I want to puke. Sorry, I just do. Drove a 458 a few years back. Best driving experience ever. Yeah, I mean, the closest I ever got to an unbelievable driving experience. I did drive the BMW 135i, and I will say that for a two-seater, for a two-door rear-wheel drive coupe, unbelievable car. Unbelievable. I'm driving north side of Gainesville. We go out of the Volkswagen / BMW dealership, go up Main Street. The kid who's the salesman is behind the wheel when we're driving. He's like, I've got to drive it off the lot and then you can drive it later. And he's bopping up Main Street, and literally in like no time flat, we're doing 75 or 80 miles an hour on Main Street in Gainesville. And it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday. It's not really, there's no traffic or anything. But this is like a 35 zone. Boop, boop. And so we like get up to 39th Avenue, pull into the parking lot, change drivers, and I get in the car. I make it right onto 39th Avenue. I'm going to go out towards the airport. There's a beautiful little stretch of road. There ain't a lot of twisty, windy roads in Gainesville, but we know where there's one over by the airport. So that's where we were headed because we're going to take that one. And I'd driven like every car through there. I drove the Mustang through there. I drove all sorts of shit through there. And I'm in there with my friend Larry, who's also a car guy. He owns speaking of beautiful Italian cars, he owns a Fiat 500 of the Barth, right? And which he drives like a freaking madman. His little go-kart all over Gainesville. And it's funny shit. So I get in the car and I just like, make a right, go through the light, and I'm like, and by the time, and it's like the Honda dealership is on the corner of Main Street and 39th Avenue. And I'm heading out towards the airport. And I'm no shit. Okay. I pull out and I start on the other side of the intersection. Right. And the light's green. So I immediately just gun it and start going. And I'm just going with the flappy paddle gearbox. I'm just popping right through the friggin' gears. And I look down, and literally by the time I've reached, I'm just past the friggin' Honda dealership, I look down, I'm doing 100. I'm like, holy shit. And I hit the brake. This is a 45 zone. And I hit the brake, and then a cop comes right by. A cop comes by like not 6 seconds later. And I would have been like, nabbed for 145 while test driving a freaking BMW. Like, like, holy shit, I'm doing 100. Like, how much is this car? The one thing you don't do is you don't buy a new Beamer. You buy a 2-year used one. Trust me, because they depreciate like mad. So you can get that 53. It was that thing was like $53,000. It was completely pimped out. 135i with the 3-liter V6. Yeah, with the bigger engine and with the turbocharged 3-liter V6 and all that. Just a beautiful car. And it wasn't an M, or maybe it was. I don't remember now. Doesn't matter. It was freaking awesome, but couldn't buy it. So, So yeah, that was cool. So Cynical Skeptic wants to bring us back to geopolitics for the last 10 minutes of the evening. So why don't we do that? Unrelated to the current subject, have you seen the statement by the Russian foreign minister? The Russian foreign ministry. It wasn't Lavrov. I don't think it was him. It was somebody else. It might have been the finance minister or some undersecretary, because I did see the statement, who announced that Russia might be leaving the USD, the US dollar, as a means of settlement. Yeah, they're going to do so. They're absolutely going to do so. And he and Merkel and Putin and Merkel talked about this over the weekend. Oh, it's so easy to do north on 60. She had that happen to them in a Mustang. I doubled the speed limit on the highway by accident and nearly got caught. Oh, yeah, it's so easy. The V8 Mustang, yeah, it's like you hit freaking 100 miles an hour. Oh, I'm doing 100. Okay. I mean, this is a 7-speed, dual clutch, flappy paddle gearbox. The gear changes were literally faster than I can snap my fingers. The sound of my snapping my fingers is longer than the gear changes in that car, because it's already got the next gear ready and it's boom. That's what the double clutch gearboxes do. It's unbelievable. And I've driven them before in like the rudimentary versions of them in like Volkswagens. Nothing close to what the world's completely different and freaking unbelievable. It's too bad the cars don't have a lot of personality or style. So, as user 13 pointed out earlier. But yeah, we're in a state now where all of these narratives are starting to come undone. And the narrative of George Soros, the billionaire philanthropist, gone. He's now the villain. Mark Zuckerberg, the genius who created Facebook, no, he's just some creepy guy who wanted to vacuum up all the girls' data so that he could stalk them. So, stalk book. Okay. Elon Musk, bipolar. Entrepreneur, not much of a production guy. And they have a 1 Sigma process. I know what it looks like. I've seen it before. I helped rebuild a company to get to a real, something even close to a 3 Sigma process. And we got to a friggin' unbelievable first pass yield. Because, well, I'm pretty good at what I do. But seriously, guys, they've got a 1 Sigma process. The Business Insider article that Zero Hedge quoted earlier in the week that, when they hit those weeks where they hit the 5,000 a week production number, 4,300 of them had to go back for reworks. I mean, you can't blame the people. They're working to the bone. I've been there too. Companies that, have to run on short staff and they got to run on small, on lack of sleep, double shifts, and all the other stuff. Soros is the one that's going to end up broke. User 13, yeah. Musk is going to wind up in jail. Zuckerberg is going to be deposed from Facebook and thrown overboard when the Trump wing of the Republican Party takes over Congress. And Soros is going to wind up broke. Mark my words, because eventually we're going to seize all of his assets. And then he's going to be on the run. He's going to wind up in a Russian prison. So, well, I mean, if I'm writing the script. Because that's what these guys deserve. Yep. So I mean, I'm reading the comments about I'm reading the comments about the use of credit cards in Russia. It's all really interesting. I don't think it's particularly germane, but do I ever read the one? Isaac asks, do I ever read the zero hedge comment section when you post one of my articles? Yes, I do, and they're usually very funny. I rarely. It's funny, especially when I'm writing on really sensitive lefty topics. They just go all over me like a rash. It's really funny. So it's but the comment sections on zero hedge at this point that's truly a dumpster fire. And but I read them every once in a while to see what's being said. But at the end of the day, you have to learn to grow a really thick skin. It's more interesting, actually. So it's actually more interesting to read the comment sections on my own blog, right? Because I don't get a lot of comments over Gold, Goats, and Guns. I don't know why, but I don't. That's fine. I don't really care. But the level of engagement is rising. People are beginning to leave more and more comments. That's great. But the Soros article, I had no less than 4 or 5 guys all call me alt-right white trash within 2 hours of each other. It was fascinating. And it was fun because I knew exactly what was going on, which is that, they had been activated because they came out after me after that article hit zero hedge. And then they came over to the blog and they started bombing me on the blog. That's fine. Obviously, they got to make their $12.50 an hour somehow. What's funny about that, though, is that this is the way you deal with them. This is the way you engage. You don't actually engage because they're trying to goad you into stuff. So one guy said, how do you deny being alt-right when you share their values and their ideology? And I just looked at him as the first thing I said was, if you got that from this article about George Soros, then one, you're being either willfully obtuse or you're just fucking illiterate. One. And then the next guy popped up and I said, yeah, that's interesting. And all I really said was, you're precious. Bless your little heart. And that's the way you have to treat these guys. Just ignore them. Good evening, Arjun Kapoor. How are you? I think you got here just in time for me to leave. So I'm going to leave in about 3 or 4 minutes. If anybody has any more questions or comments they want me to cover before I leave tonight, that'd be fine. This afternoon stuff on the market's reaction to Jerome Powell's statement at Jackson Hole today was really odd. That the market rallied on this, like the market was suppressed that they thought maybe the Fed wasn't going to raise interest rates 2 more times before the end of the year. So what do I make of the alt-right? Well, they were 20 talented meme artists armed with TweetDeck at one point during the campaign. It was literally 20 guys. Now a lot of them are guys that have kind of embraced the Nazi thing because it was a way to make money and now they're trapped in it. Some of them are government agents. I'm convinced of it. I'm convinced that Richard Spencer was activated as a CIA operative, activated to get Hillary elected. And then when he didn't, and then when he was unsuccessful, they left him out to hang, and now he's fucked. And the same thing with the rest of them. What do I make of the alt-right? Whatever. I just think they're irrelevant. I mean, honestly, I think some of their outrage is not, I wouldn't say justified. It's real, right? Their outrage and what they're feeling is valid, right? Because people's feelings are valid, just in a way that everybody's feelings are valid. SJW's feelings are valid. They're fucking insane, but they're still valid, right? Because you can't say you don't have a right to feel what you feel. That's tyrannical. That's the essence of tyrannical, and that's the way the SJW left is treating us and everybody else, right? Saying you don't have a right to say that, and you don't have a right to think that way, and you don't have a right to feel what you feel because you're a bad person. Believe me, I grew up in a house where that was the only way people argued, because they were all so freaking broken and abused and everything else, because my mom was a tyrant, that you couldn't have an argument where you couldn't state your opinion and then not have somebody go out of their way to destroy the validity of your opinion, so as to destroy the validity of your feeling, of your emotion. And I'm like, okay, so I just won't talk then. Is that what you're saying? Because you can't accept the fact that I disagreed with you, so now you have to destroy how I'm feeling? Yeah, no wonder you people don't have any fucking compassion. Okay. So no wonder I left home at 18 and didn't come back. All right. Well, I mean, we're at the point now where everybody who's to the right of Bernie Sanders is all right. Fucking Bernie Sanders isn't pure enough for these people. They're all going down the unbelievably dangerous ideological purity test curve that ends up with people getting, gassed. Okay? It's where we're going. Let me go find my meme of what's his face. If I can, can't do that here. Webcam. There we go. See if I can find this one. Right? I'll leave you with this before I leave. Just 1 second. Ready? And make it bigger? Yeah, let's make it. And so that's what, that's where we are. Want a few more? That's where we are. All right. Anything else? In the background of my the guitars in the background are worth the shit anymore, fortunately. Identity politics is worthless, toxic, and the right and the MAGAPEDs and the QAnon and the Q-tards are going down that path. It is to make us all fight. North on 60, you're completely correct. Identity politics is toxic. It's why it's being pushed. It's to make us all fight each other, not ourselves. Yeah, let's not go there. I don't want to talk. Reconciliation is very important to understand that there's not much. I could do the whole Naxalt thing about the Jews, and it's not worth it. They're good and bad in every group. But what's being pushed here is it's far beyond that. So there's no rabbit hole with Q. It's bullshit. It's a psyop. At best, it's a psyop. And at worst, it's what I said I said a while ago in a post. It's a standalone complex. It's a meme that looks like it has a point source, but is really just a series of coincidences that then take on a life of its own. And because of the intense scrutiny and how much people in the MAGA crowd want to believe that Donald Trump has got a plan to save America, they're willing to believe anything, and they're actually feeding on each other and building Q out of their own research and their own data. And it's really just the spontaneous uprising and the spontaneous explosion of understanding that comes from that many people working together. In the end of the day, it's really just, we are all Q. So, with that said, Musk is going to jail. Soros is going to end up broke. And Mark Zuckerberg still won't be able to get a date. You guys take care. You have a great weekend. If you liked what you heard tonight, give a like and subscribe. You know, always follow my work over on Patreon and subscribe to the Gold, Goats, and Guns investment newsletter, where I tie all of this up into a neat investment thesis that's designed to de-stress you as we move through all of this. You guys take care. You have a great weekend. Keep your stick on the ice.